Men, not all tests women run on you are conscious manipulation tactics. Before we start, hit subscribe, smash that like and hype button. Test 1. The emotional overreaction to minor issues. She has a disproportionate emotional response to something small. You're slightly late, you forgot a minor detail, or you made an innocent comment she takes wrong. The reaction seems excessive for what triggered it, but she's not consciously creating drama. She's unconsciously testing whether you'll absorb her emotional state, get defensive, or maintain your frame while still being present. What's actually being evaluated? This test evaluates your emotional stability and whether you can remain grounded when she's emotionally destabilized. On a subconscious level, she's assessing whether you're the rock or whether you'll be swept up in emotional chaos with her. Her instincts need to know if you can handle her at her worst, because that predicts whether you can protect and lead during actual crises. Notice that she genuinely feels the intense emotion in the moment. She's not faking it. The test is unconscious because she truly experiences the disproportionate reaction and doesn't recognize she's evaluating how you respond. Her rational mind might even agree later that she overreacted, but in the moment, the emotion is real and the test is happening. Watch what happens when you stay calm versus when you match her intensity. If you get defensive, angry, or emotionally reactive, she unconsciously registers that you cannot regulate your state independent of hers. If you remain calm while acknowledging her feelings without absorbing them, she unconsciously registers strength and stability. Pay attention to whether these reactions decrease over time if you consistently pass the test. Women who feel secure in your emotional stability typically reduce unconscious testing because they've confirmed what they needed to know. If the tests continue regardless of consistent passing, they might be more conscious manipulation than unconscious evaluation. How to pass. This unconscious test. Pass this test by remaining emotionally stable without becoming dismissive or cold. Acknowledge her feelings without taking them on as your responsibility to fix or getting defensive about what triggered them. I can see you're upset. Let's talk about this when you're ready. Demonstrate stability while respecting her experience. Getting reactive or immediately trying to fix her emotions fails the test because both responses show you cannot remain grounded when she's not. Test 2. Creating minor inconveniences for herself. She does something that creates a small problem for herself. Forgets something at home. Doesn't bring a jacket when it's cold. Doesn't eat before getting hungry. She's not consciously setting up damsel in distress scenarios, but she unconsciously wants to see if you'll notice her discomfort and take initiative to help without her having to directly ask. What's actually being evaluated? This test evaluates your attentiveness and protective instincts. On a subconscious level, she's assessing whether you're observant enough to notice when she needs something and masculine enough to take action without being prompted. Her instincts are checking whether you're the type of man who will notice and address problems, or whether you'll remain oblivious to her needs. Notice that she often doesn't realize she's testing you. She genuinely forgot the jacket or didn't eat, and her subconscious is simply monitoring whether you notice and respond. The test isn't planned. It's her instincts opportunistically using situations to gather information about your attentiveness and initiative. Watch the difference between noticing, offering help, versus ignoring, waiting to be asked. If you notice she's cold and offer your jacket without her asking, she unconsciously registers attentiveness and protective instinct. If you notice but do nothing until she complains, or don't notice at all, she unconsciously registers either selfishness or obliviousness. Pay attention to whether she seems appreciative or tests more frequently. Genuine appreciation after you help signals she unconsciously recognizes you passed. If helping once leads to more accidental situations where she needs help, she might have learned that creating helplessness gets attention, which is different from unconscious testing. How to pass this unconscious test. Pass this test by being observant and taking initiative without making a big deal of it. Notice when she's cold, hungry, or uncomfortable and offer solutions before she has to ask. Here, take my jacket, or want to grab food before we continue, demonstrates attentiveness without being asked. The key is offering help naturally, without seeking recognition for it. You noticed because you pay attention, not because you want credit for being helpful. Test 3, mentioning other male attention. She mentions seemingly casually that another guy hit on her, a coworker is flirty, or an ex reached out. She's not consciously trying to make you jealous or test your security, but she's unconsciously monitoring your reaction to see if you're indifferent, overly jealous, or confidently unbothered. Her instincts are evaluating your self-assurance and whether you view her as valuable. What's actually being evaluated? This test evaluates your confidence level and perception of your own value relative to hers. On a subconscious level, she needs to know that you recognize she's desirable to other men but aren't threatened by that fact because you're secure in your own value. Her instincts are checking whether you're confident enough to handle competition without becoming controlling or insecure. Notice that she likely mentions it without strategic intent. It happened, and she's telling you about it the way she'd mention any other daily occurrence. The test is in what your reaction reveals, not in her deliberately trying to provoke jealousy. Her conscious mind is sharing information. Her unconscious mind is evaluating your response. Watch whether you respond with indifference, insecurity, or confident acknowledgement. If you shrug it off completely, like you don't care at all, she unconsciously registers that you might not value her highly enough. If you get jealous, possessive, or insecure, she unconsciously registers weakness. If you acknowledge it with confident amusement, of course they're interested, you're attractive, you pass. Pay attention to how the pattern develops based on your responses. If you consistently respond with confident security, she typically stops mentioning other male attention because the question has been answered. If you respond with jealousy, mentions may increase because her instincts haven't received confirmation of your confidence. How to pass this unconscious test? Pass this test by responding with secure confidence that acknowledges she's desirable without feeling threatened. A simple, "That's not surprising," or mild amusement demonstrates you recognize her value while being completely secure in your own. Getting jealous fails because it reveals insecurity. Being completely indifferent fails because it suggests you don't value what you have. Confident acknowledgement passes because it shows security and appreciation simultaneously. Test 4. Suggesting plans, then being ambivalent about them. She suggests doing something together, but then seems non-committal or indecisive about the actual details, unsure about timing, not confirming definitively, or appearing flexible to the point of having no preference. She's not consciously being difficult. She's unconsciously testing whether you'll take leadership in planning or whether you'll defer all decisions back to her. What's actually being evaluated? This test evaluates your decisiveness and willingness to lead. On a subconscious level, she's assessing whether you can make decisions and take charge of planning, or whether she'll have to manage everything in the relationship. Her instincts are checking for masculine leadership capacity, not dominance or control, but the ability to make decisions and move things forward. Notice that her ambivalence is often genuine. She really might not have strong preferences about details, but the test is whether her lack of strong opinion triggers you to take charge or leaves both of you in indecisive limbo. Her conscious mind is being flexible. Her unconscious mind is evaluating whether you'll step into leadership when there's a vacuum. Watch whether you take initiative or keep asking her what she wants. If you make a decision, "Let's do 7 p.m. at this place, I'll pick you up," she unconsciously registers leadership and decisiveness. If you keep asking for her input or let planning stall because neither of you commits to details, she unconsciously registers either inability to lead or unwillingness to take charge. Pay attention to whether she seems happier with you taking charge versus collaborative planning. Most women consciously claim they want equal partnership, but unconsciously respond more positively to men who can make decisions confidently. If she seems more enthusiastic after you've taken charge of planning versus when you've deferred everything to her, the unconscious preference is revealing itself. How to pass. This unconscious test. Pass this test by taking leadership in planning when she's ambivalent. If she suggests doing something but doesn't commit to details, make the call. Great, let's do Saturday at 6. I'll handle reservations. Check major constraints with her, but don't make her plan everything. Making decisions when she's indecisive shows leadership capacity. Constantly deferring back to her or being equally indecisive fails because it forces her into the leadership role her instincts want you to occupy. Test 5. Sharing problems without asking for solutions. She tells you about something going wrong in her life, work stress, friend drama, family issue, but doesn't explicitly ask for your help or advice. She's not consciously testing you, but she's unconsciously evaluating whether you'll jump immediately to fix-it mode or whether you can be emotionally present without needing to solve everything. Her instincts are assessing both your empathy and your confidence. What's actually being evaluated? This test evaluates your emotional intelligence and secure masculinity. On a subconscious level, she's checking whether you can listen without your ego needing to fix everything, while also assessing whether you're capable of helping if needed. Her instincts need to know you're strong enough to offer solutions when necessary, but secure enough not to need to prove competence by solving problems she's just processing verbally. Notice that she's not trying to trap you in the classic, does she want solutions or just listening dilemma. She's genuinely processing by talking, and the test is whether you can read the situation accurately. Her conscious mind is just sharing. Her unconscious mind is evaluating your emotional attunement and whether your masculinity is secure enough not to require constantly proving competence. Watch whether you immediately jump to solutions, ignore the emotional content, or can balance presence with offering help if appropriate. If you only listen without ever offering perspective when asked, she unconsciously registers that you might not be capable of helping. If you immediately try to fix everything, she registers either insecurity or inability to be emotionally present. Pay attention to cues about what she actually needs. If she's venting and needs presence, that sounds frustrating, tell me more, passes the test. If she's actually stuck and needs input, want to talk through options, offers help without forcing solutions. Reading the situation correctly demonstrates emotional intelligence. Her instincts are evaluating. How to pass. This unconscious test. Pass this test by being present first, then offering help if it seems wanted. Start with empathy and active listening. That sounds really difficult, or how are you feeling about it? If she continues explaining and seems to want input, offer it. Do you want my thoughts on it? This balances emotional presence with masculine capability without forcing solutions onto processing that doesn't need fixing. Passing requires reading what she actually needs in the moment, rather than defaulting to one response regardless of context.